I am here with Melissa Lewis from GMHBA, who was part of the 2019 Aligned Executive Team and was the recipient of the Gordon Murray Award. So a really shining example of aligned executive. So Melissa, I'd like to just ask you a few questions and to share your experience of as being a loaned executive for our new loaned executive team. So first of all, tell me about the experience and what has stayed with you from the program.
I think mostly the perspective that you gain from it. So it's very easy to overlook disadvantage if you're not looking for it, or you or someone close to you is experiencing it. So we live in such a manufactured world these days that you can literally choose what you want to see. So while we might think in theory we're more connected than ever, it's more likely to be the opposite. So that's at least how I felt when my eyes were open to the amount of disadvantage just here in Geelong. And the experience highlights some of the patterns and cause factors of that disadvantage. So it also creates awareness for the many support programs we have available in Geelong, and it shines light on the work being done by remarkable people in the community, you know, just to help those that are in need.
Yep.
So another... Sorry. I was just going to say, and another thing, like I'm going to assume that the Seeing is Believing tour will look a little bit different this year, but that was a particular highlight for me, meeting the program organisers and attendees, and seeing firsthand what the impact the donations have on those programs. It was very enlightening.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes, the Seeing is Believing tour will be quite different this year, so it's kind of going to be like this. So not quite as interesting, but so Melissa, tell me, what did you find to be the hardest thing about participating in the program? What was the thing that you kind of maybe struggled with a little bit?
I found that the fundraising space is highly competitive, so there's a number of charities that are out there vying for support these days. And in my experience, some people had just simply felt that they'd reached their limit on donations, you know, either with Give Where You Live or with other charity groups. But that being said, I found I had more success with those who were already existing contributors rather than onboarding new ones. And I also found it a little bit difficult to connect with those who might be travelling for work in Geelong outside of our region, because they just simply didn't have the same sense of community connection as those who both work and live in the region. So that was also a little bit of a tricky situation.
Yeah, absolutely, and understandable. So how did you, so when you were putting your presentation together and presenting it to your team and your peers, how did you actually make that ask? Like, how did you, what did you actually say? Can you remember?
Yeah, it was some time ago, but I actually did it a few times, so it's a little bit ingrained in there. But I actually ran it alongside a PowerPoint presentation as a trigger point with some of the statistics, because you do have your data-driven people who do like to see, you know, the exact impact that it is having on the community. So that was really good. I've also never been great at the concept of asking people for money, so I tried to add a little bit of humour into the presentation, especially when it came to the part of asking people for contributions. I actually felt that helped, as well as I engaged with my organisation to sponsor a prize as a little bit of a carrot to try and get people to increase or start giving, and I found that was quite beneficial as well.
Yeah, excellent. That's really good. Tell me, is there any tips or tricks that you sort of learnt doing those presentations that you might like to share with the loaned execs about putting their presentation together? So like, was there anything, like you've mentioned the stats and things, is there anything that you went, yep, that's definitely got to be in your presentation?
Yeah, I think relatable content is really important. Finding those, causes that people are likely to connect with as well, to be real catalysts for, people tend to look at, experiences with children specifically as trigger points for them, especially considering there's a lot of young parents and everything, in organisations who like to contribute to those particular causes. Just trying to remain relevant in your material. And like there was all the tips that we got, may not be as relevant, this year because, we had the tactile forms that you could basically put, on people's chairs and, try and influence getting them to sign up at that point in time. But at least, with the digital reach, you might actually be able to reach a broader group of people because, with everybody working from home and the like, that, remotely you might have some advantage of reaching a broader audience because of the digital aspect to it. So
absolutely, absolutely. Everyone's reading their emails at the moment. So, so finally, do you have any further advice or words of wisdom that you would like to pass on to the next set of loan execs?
Yeah, well, I thought about this pretty hard, and this is an especially interesting one. So, like, the new group are entering into the program at a time when it couldn't be more relevant about how quickly circumstances can change, and sometimes outside of your own control. So, much broader population of our community are currently facing challenges they couldn't have anticipated just last year. And so raising awareness of our local programs and their need for financial support has probably never been more relevant. So people who haven't been financially impacted may be more aware of how lucky they are, and be more willing to begin or increase their support of Give Where You Live. So it basically just to try and influence them, to get them to see that, the savings they're making working from home, things like not spending money on their daily coffee or car parking or not buying lunch, that could actually make a considerable difference to those who may not be in as fortunate a situation as them, and that they could actually do something good with that money.
Absolutely. Well, I know I'm not spending my $4.50 every morning buying my coffee. So, yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. Yeah.